Okay, this lesson is going to deal with hyperbolas again, and we're going to practice writing equations. Remember, whenever we write an equation, okay, I always recommend drawing a diagram. The diagram is going to show information. It's going to let you check things, make sure things are going the right way. So let's read the information, draw the picture, and then you state as much information as you can from the picture. For example, it says hyperbola, so I'm going to have to have something with a minus sign. The center is at the origin. Okay, so C for center. Let's see, the vertices are 0, 1. Okay, V for vertex, and 0, -1. V for vertex. So looking at this picture, there's a couple of things you should know immediately. Since this is the vertex, I know that the hyperbola is going like this. There's only 2 vertices on a hyperbola. Okay, I'm going to stop right there and write down as much information as I can. Looking at this picture, do you know the center? Yes, the center is 0, 0. Okay, what else do we know from the picture? Do you know who the transverse is? Very good. The transverse is y. The hyperbola is going up and down. Do you know any of the radii? From center to vertex, that's a radius. That's r sub y. R sub y is 1. Okay, I'm going to write down the equation as best I can. The center is 0, 0. And since the hyperbola, we need to put a minus sign. So who is going to go first, the x or the y? Well, since y is the transverse, y will go first. So we've got y squared. The center is 0, 0. Minus x squared. We've got to figure out some radii. Equals to 1. Okay, we're about halfway there. I know r sub y is 1, so 1 times 1 is a 1. I do not know r sub x squared. Okay, I've got part of the information. There's just one more thing we have to find, but lucky for us, they did give us another hint. Okay, it passes through the point 3 radical 2. Passes through the point, that's weird. 3 radical 2, so I know it's a point here somewhere. But it's not the center, it's not the vertex, it's not a radius. A point means x, comma, y. Well, how is an x and a y going to help me find r sub x? Oh, I know, this kind of reminds me of Algebra 1. You plug in the x, you plug in the y, you find the other variable. So what's y squared? 2. X squared is 9 over r sub x squared. Okay, so we just have a fun algebra problem. Let's go ahead and maybe move the 9 over r sub x squared to the right side, make him positive. I will subtract 1 and make a 1. And it seems like it's a good time to maybe cross multiply. 9 equals r sub x squared. Awesome, we found r sub x squared. Some people like to keep going and say r sub x equals 3. Okay, which is true, and then you're going to have to square it to put it back in the equation. So the final answer is y squared over 1 minus x squared over 9 equals to 1. There you go, equation of a hyperbola. When you are writing the equation of a hyperbola, there are 3 things you have to know. Number 1, you have to know the transverse. You have to know, number 2, the center. And then I don't know if you want to state these as 1 or 2. You have to know r sub x, and you have to know r sub y. So 3 or 4 things you have to know. When we were doing ellipses, we didn't have to know transverse. We just had to know center, x, and y. But now we have to know who to put first and who gets that minus sign. Okay, let's draw another diagram. Write an equation of a hyperbola whose center is at the point -3, -4. 1, 2, 3, -3, -1, 2, 3, 4, -4. Okay, sometimes I like to do dots just so I get to the right place. So there's the center. I'm just going to list that because that's a fact I need to know. The center is -3, -4. The focus, okay, this is interesting. The focus is -3, -8. 1, 2, 3, 4 more down at -8. Okay, you are going to be having lots of points. That is not a vertex. That is a focus. That's a focus, from center to focus. Okay, center to focus. We usually call that R sub F. I'm going to list that fact right away. R sub F is 4. Okay, if you go down 4 units to one focus, can anyone tell me where the other focus is? Yeah, up 4 units. So there's a focus, there's a focus. Okay, now when you're drawing the hyperbola, let's see, there's a couple other things we already know just from this little bit of information. If the foci are going up and down, the hyperbola is going to be going up and down. So the transverse is y. Okay, any other clues? Oh, there is one more clue. There's a vertex at -3, -2. -3, -2. Okay, so if this is a vertex, the hyperbola surrounds the focus there. There's one vertex. Center up 2 units to one vertex. Center down 2 units. So here's another vertex. Okay, and the vertices must surround the foci. So looking at this, we now know R sub y. R sub y from center to vertex is 2. Okay, remember, to write an equation, we need the center. I need to know who the transverse is, so I'll put y first. I have R sub y, but I don't have R sub x. So that means we're going to have to find R sub x with our focal radius equation. Focal radius squared is R squared plus R squared. Remember, the hyperbola gets a minus in his equation, so his formula is plus. I guess it doesn't really matter if you put major or minor here, or x or y. It doesn't matter because they're being added. I know the focal radius squared is going to be 16. The r that I know is y, so I'll put r sub y squared first. And r sub x I don't know. Subtract the 4. 12 equals r sub x squared, so r sub x must be radical 12, which simplifies to 2 radical 3. Okay, so r sub x is 2 radical 3. We have everything we need to know. We need to know center, transverse, r sub x, r sub y. Let's get started. It's the first term minus the second term, and it equals to 1. So who is going to go first? The y. Y minus -4 makes plus. How about the x? X minus, let's look at the x number, -3. That's going to be plus 3, quantity squared. And now I need to put those radii in there. The r sub y squared will make a 4. The r sub x squared, this is a lot of work to square the 2 and to square the radical and then put it together. I think I'll just look right here when it was squared for me and put a 12. This is a nice way to state it, a simplified radical number, but that's the easiest way to put that. Okay, so which one goes first, the large one or the small one? It doesn't matter. When you're doing hyperbolas, you care about who is the transverse. Big or small doesn't matter for hyperbolas. Okay, let's do a couple more of these little puzzles. I think these are kind of fun. Write the equation of a hyperbola. The center is at 1, -2. Okay, 1, -2, C for center. I'm going to write that fact down. That's one of the things we definitely need to know. Eccentricity is 3/2. Okay, I'll have to do some work with the eccentricity. It has a vertex at 5, -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. There's one vertex. Okay, so I immediately know that the hyperbola is going with a transverse of x. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right, the other one must be 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left. Here's the other vertex. And so I now know that the hyperbola is going like this. Couple things that you should know by looking at this picture. Who is the transverse? Let's write x. How about r sub x? From center to vertex. That's going to be 4. Okay. Other things we need to figure out, r sub y and r sub f. Okay, let's see if we could figure out one of these things here. They did give me the eccentricity clue. So eccentricity for a hyperbola. What's that formula? It goes r sub f over r trans. Okay, and they told me that it's 3 over 2. Oh, I guess I'll just say r sub f must be 3 and r trans must be 2. But you have to be careful with fractions. Fractions could have been reduced. Oh no, how am I supposed to tell if it was reduced? Well, hang on. The transverse is x. I know that the radius to the trans is 4. Oh, so it's not 2. Hang on. The transverse radius is actually 4. So that means r sub f is not 3. R sub f must actually be times by 2 times by 2, 6. So it was reduced. Okay, so cross these out. The r sub f is actually 6, and the transverse radius is actually 4. So r sub f is 6. So when they give you a fraction like that, it could be a slope or eccentricity. Just double check that it wasn't in reduced form with one of your other facts. Okay, I need to find r sub y. So let's use that formula that goes r sub f squared is r sub x squared plus r sub y squared. Or you could say nothing, or you could say major minor. R sub f squared is 36. R sub x squared, 16. And r sub y, I'd really like to find your value. 20 is r sub y squared. So r sub y is radical 20, or in reduced form, it would be 2 radical 5. Okay, I think we have everything we need to write an equation. Should we put x or y first? Since the transverse is x, let's go ahead and put him first. So it's going to be x minus 1 quantity squared. How about r sub x squared? 16. Minus sign for hyperbola. Okay, y minus the y number is negative 2, so plus 2 squared. R sub y squared. Oh, I'll just look right here. 20. Okay, equals to 1. So when I'm looking at your information, I'm going to look to see if you reduced it. But when you're writing it, sometimes it's nice to go look at the work. Okay, a couple more. Write the equation of the hyperbola. Vertices are at -1, -1, v for vertex. With that fact, do you know if it's going up, down, left, right? Not yet. Let's go get another clue. 3, -1. 3, -1. Okay, now you should be able to tell me a couple of things. What's the transverse? The transverse is definitely x. How about the center? Let's see, we're just going to go 1 unit in, 1 unit. I think the center's right there. C for center, 1, -1. Okay, I know that the hyperbola is going like this. How about from center to vertex? How about r sub x? Can you tell me that? 2. Okay, we're getting there. I think that's everything that we could tell based off this picture. All right, let's go see what another clue is. It has an asymptote. Okay, it has an asymptote. Do you know what the useful information is there with the asymptote? Because I know that the asymptote's going like this, going through the center, okay? But the important fact is right here with the slope. Remember, slope is r sub y over r sub x. So I guess the r sub y is 3, and I guess the r sub x must be 2. Well, hang on. We got to look to see if that was in reduced form. So is r sub y directly 3, and is r sub x directly 2? Yes, it is. It is. R sub x is 2. R sub y is directly 3. Nothing has been reduced there. I think we're ready for our answer. The final answer. Who's going to go first, the x or the y? The transverse is x, so he'll go first. X minus the x number is 1. Don't forget squared. How about r sub x squared? We'll put a 4 there. Minus sign. Y's turn. Y minus, where's the center? So that's going to be plus 1, quantity squared, over, don't forget to square it. It's going to make a 9. Okay? Good? No, it's not good. It's not an equation. If you don't write equals to 1, then you don't have an equation, and it's not going to be the right answer. Don't forget little things like the 1. Don't forget things like the squared. Okay. We got one more. All right, the equation of the hyperbola. Ooh, some foci. 3 positive, positive. I think I'm going to draw it over here so I get a lot of quadrant 1 in sight. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 7, and that is a focus point. And 7, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay, here is another focus point. Okay, a couple things you should know just with these two little points. Who can find the center? Center between 3 and 7? I think 3, 5, 7. So the center is going to be right there. C for center at the point 5, 7. If you know the foci are going like this, do you know which axis is going to be the transverse axis? Well, the x-axis. Okay, let's see. What else do you know? Can you tell me r sub f from center to focus? Well, that's going to be 2. A couple things we need to figure out, r sub x and r sub y. Okay, do we have another clue? Can I buy a hint, please? Vertex is at 6, 7. Oh, look at that, right there in the middle. Right there, 6. Okay, so if this is one vertex, V for vertex, well, of course, I knew it had to be here surrounding the focus. The other one must be 1 unit to the left, must be here at 4, right there. V for vertex, around the focus. Well, that tells me some more information. From center to vertex, r sub x must be 1. Okay, there's only one more we have to figure out, and that's r sub y. But we do have 2 of the radii, so we can use that nice formula. R sub f squared equals r squared plus r squared. R sub f squared is going to be 4. I've got r sub x, so squared is 1, so this must be r sub y squared. 3 equals r sub y squared, so r sub y must be the square root of a 3. Okay, equation time. Who's going to go first? The transverse, the x one will go first. X minus center's 5, quantity squared. R sub x squared is going to be a 1. Minus sign for hyperbola. Y minus, let's see, where's the center? The y number 7, quantity squared, over r sub y squared. Radical 3 times radical 3 is a regular 3. Yep, I agree with that fact. And don't forget, equals to a 1. Go ahead and box that answer. Wow, there's lots of things we studied this section. Can you determine center, x, y, and focal radii? Okay, yes, I can do that. I can determine which axis is the transverse axis. Okay, from the equation, it's the positive one. And from a graph, it's where all the stuff is going left and right. I can state eccentricity with the correct formula. Oh, eccentricity. Let's just remind everyone, eccentricity is r sub f over r trans. Good. There's lots of formulas. I can calculate the length of the transverse and the conjugate axis. So if r sub f, for example, is 2, then how long is it? 2 and 2 is going to be 4. Okay. R sub y, here's radical 3. So what's radical 3 plus radical 3? 2 radical 3. little radical work for you. I can write the equation. Okay, don't forget, the positive one is the transverse one. Don't forget that minus sign, the squareds, and the 1. And I can determine the slopes and the equations of the asymptotes. The slope is r sub y over r sub x. Okay, lots of things. Have a good day.